Hello YouTubers, and welcome to another episode of The Signal Box. Thanks very much for joining me today. Don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe, and we'll crack on with today's video. Okay, so no, you're not seeing Swanage again. I do hope you enjoyed that brief video that I made the other day from my trip last Friday to Swanage in Dorset, specifically to the Swanage Steam Railway. And just being out in Dorset, seeing real life thatched cottages, and then seeing it at home on my model railway is quite nice as well. A little bit of detail I've added to this particular thatched cottage. Around the door there, I've added some little ivy or some vegetation material around the door frame because that looked a little bit bare, so I put some stuff around there. I'm going to paint some flowers in at some point. It's all dry. I've done this the other week actually, just forgot to show you. And then coming round on the chimney breast at the rear of the cottage, I've put some creeping material going up that chimney breast. It was a little bit bare there, so I've just added that there to cover that up, and it looks quite nice. Again, blends it in. But yeah, wasn't that a lovely day at Swanage? I really enjoyed it, and I think we're definitely going to do some steam trains somewhere else another day. Okay, so it's bank holiday in the UK today, which means you don't go to the bank and have a holiday, but it just means it's a public holiday over here in the UK. So it means typically in the UK, if you're travelling by train, there's always engineering works on bank holidays. And mine's no exception. Today, we're going to run some trains in a bit, but I've had to do a little bit of fiddling, a little bit of licking and sticking, as it were, today on the railway. I've done some ballasting up the crossing end. This is a job that I really was putting off and procrastinating, not doing. So I got round to doing it this morning, and that was simply just laying some ballast just off the ramp end of this crossing here. As you can see, it's all in place and it's drying now. It's touch dry. I've added some diluted PVA with a dash of detergent washing up liquid, and I'd sprayed the dry ballast with a water mist spray, plain tap water, just to spray mist of it, just to dampen it, and then added the dilute PVA and water mixture with a dash of detergent as mentioned. And that's all sort of touch dry now. I'm going to let it dry further, and then what I'll do, I'll get round to mixing up some thinners with some sleeper grime and painting that all in and doing something much more nicer with that. But anyway, the ballast is in. That's the main bank holiday ballasting job done. So that's, once that's all dry further, I'm going to bring in the vacuum cleaner and just vacuum off the little bit of excess there in the forefoot. But what I was really wanting to do was fill in this area here, around here in the cess and obviously the 6 foot side, and around here, because it was a little, these cribs, or the space between each sleepers on the P-way, we used to call them cribs or beds. The gaps between the sleepers here and here were really empty. If you look through my previous videos, you'll see it. And that's really because the whole of my track on my layout is laid on cork, and where it sat on the level crossing, I did pack it up and build it up a little bit, but there was a little bit of a slight gap that side. On this side, there's a little tiny bit of a gap there, but it doesn't notice so much. I'm not bothered about that so much. This was the offending side, the country inside of the crossing, which I've now done. So once that all is fully dried, I'm going to vacuum it off and weather it, and that should look okay. Anyway, so let's get on with running some trains, shall we? The old railway looks a little bit too quiet for my liking today, so we do need some train action to take place. So let's do that right now. So coming round now, via the passing loop on track number 1, there's a Southern Region Schools class, which is the closest thing that I've got in my collection to a Southern Region U class, which is what you saw at Swanage the other day. These coaches are also correct for the Southern Region, but also, more importantly, they're the correct ones for the Swanage Railway and the Steam Railway, because there's a couple of steel bullied coaches, some 63-footers in my little rake of coaches I've got going around at the moment. The leading coach, which is behind Dover, which is the schools class engine, that's the steel bodied one, because it's got the rivets going along the top of the window level and along the bottom of the roof. That's the steel bodied one compared to the wooden and steel ones. They really do stand out, and as you saw probably on the film from last week, they do look really quite nice. Done a good job with them. Got a little bit of grime added to them, but that's what it's all about. So Dover is running tender first for a change. And I think she looks quite nice with that rake of Southern coaches that she's hauling. And there she goes. Here's something you don't normally see all the time. This Class 58 diesel. These were originally in real life, when they first came out in the UK, I think they were designed in Canada, but they were designed for hauling the merry-go-round coal trains, as they were known. Big, long hoppers full of coal for all the power stations in the UK that were obviously coal-fired, and they needed coal for the furnaces, and these were specifically designed and built for these really miles and miles long worth of coal wagons to haul, and these were more than ample. This is class 58. This one's 001. I always thought it'd be great if there's a 007 out there. Probably is. I haven't looked it up, but some of you might be able to shout out and comment, yeah, there's a class 58 007. License to Kill. But anyway, obviously miles too modern for my layout, but I just got it at the time when I had the old layout, and I always wanted one of these, and I'm going to run it because I like it and I think it's pretty cool. In the Dutch livery, which is nice, that grey with yellow ends. I actually repainted this, believe it or not, because when I first got this from eBay, it wasn't like this. It was in a little bit of a grubby state, and I repainted the chassis, the cabins I redid, and that red trim that goes along the side of the chassis there, as you can see, I repainted that as well, so it looks quite nice now. Did all the handrails as well and the buffers. Yeah, it's quite a nice little, like I say little, it's quite a big old thing, isn't it, trundling around my little railway. But yeah, it's a nice little reminder, because when I was a little kid, not so little, but when I was sort of growing up, and I went to my first model railway shop called the Engine Shed in Leytonstone High Road, East London. I remember when this first came out in the Hornby catalogue, and it was in the display cabinet, and I thought, wow, I wish I could have one of those. And here I am, decades later, and I've got one. It's still a nice thing. It doesn't excite me as much as it did when I was sort of in my youth, but it's still pretty cool to own one, even if it's an old Hornby model, but I quite like it. Speaking of diesels, while we've got this loco running around the railway today, I've got a newish diesel on the way from eBay, and it's a class 33 Compton, as seen at Swanage Railway. It's not Lieutenant Jenny Lewis, Royal Navy, it's not that one, but it is, however, a green class 33, it's a Lima, and hopefully it will be as good as it looks when I get it this week. So it needs a little, obviously, a service and clean, and when I get round to doing that, I'll upload the video and you can have a look at that one. And again, I don't own any class 33s in my collection at the moment, so I'm quite looking forward to getting it when it comes, and servicing it, cleaning it and running it on the railway. Okay folks, I want to close off the video today with this final shot of this one coming round now. This is a J94 industrial austerity tank engine, and this is one of the first tank engines that I heavily weathered back in the day, about over 10 years ago I think. It's hauling quite a long rake of coal trains, and my inspiration from doing these shots here, I'll put the link in the description box below this video. There's a wonderful video by a channel called Gandhi Dancer Productions. It's by a gentleman that sort of grew up next to an industrial quarry line that was still operating with steam in 1969, believe it or not. Its last few months of operation, and it's an absolutely tremendous tribute to these wonderful 060 industrial austerity tank engines, these J94s. And if you watch the video, this really sort of is my little nod to that. It's a wonderful little charming film. I'll put the link in the box below. But there she goes. There's the J94 in charge of those coal wagons. She's a little bit noisy because she's an old Dapol J94, and Hornby simply took that and went a little bit better, but not much. But she's very reliable, and you can get loads of slow speeds out of this thing. I'll actually put a little bit of brake on now. I'll just wait for it to get round the curve by the windmill, and I'll add some brake. Round about now. Get her to really crawl. There you go, look at that. Get her to go walking pace. I haven't even cleaned this loco for goodness knows how long. The wheels are a little bit grubby, but look at this, look. She puts up a fight with no problem. She doesn't give up easily. She can literally crawl around my railway with a rake of wagons on. So you can get the realism of the real thing. Like I said, please watch the video in the link I've enclosed, guys, because it is quite an amazing sight. These beat up industrial tank engines just being battered the hell out of and thrashed the hell out of, and really steam leaking everywhere, and really sort of worked hard, but they are very brave, incredibly tough little things. I'll take that brake off now a little bit as she goes into the tunnel. I think I'll leave it about there actually. We'll come around here. Only got one light on so we can see the layout lights as well in the last few hours of twilight time in the UK, and that makes for a wonderful sight, doesn't it? Let's imagine it's not 2024, but in fact it's 1968, and somewhere in the northern part of England there's still steam working, and the evening dusk settles. The boys are busy catching their evening fish in the canal there somewhere, maybe the odd car tyre as well. The sun sets on the railway. We can just hear the steady, brave beat of this J94 as she makes her way through the station with the evening coal train for the quarry. Okay everybody, so thanks very much for watching. Don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe, and I'll see you soon in another episode of the Signal Box. Bye bye now.